Hello, Namaskar. I'm Pia Jyoti Khatru coming to you from ITV Gold Studio in New Jersey and welcoming you all to our weekly show, The American Dream Real Estate 101, where we talk everything real estate and we'll be getting answers from the experts. So in today's show, we will be talking about commercial real estate. We have with us Sanjeev Aneja ji, broker, owner of On Track Realty, which started in 1994 with a mission to surpass clients' expectations with expertise, honesty, and integrity, and to do whatever it takes to have each client as a raving fan. Sanjeev ji has also been past Middlesex County Association of Realtors President, Realtor of Year Middlesex and New Jersey, and New Jersey Real Estate Commissioner. We also have with us our very own award-winning salesperson, Alka Aneja of On Track Realty, who has been doing real estate for more than 27 years. And she's also the president of Humbled by Your Service, which is a charity formed during COVID. And last but not least, she also hosts Soul Talks with Alka on YouTube. And she is here to give you insight into the world of real estate. So let us welcome the brother-sister duo, Sanjeev ji and Alka, to the American Dream Real Estate 101. Welcome both of you today.
Hi Jyoti, how are you? Nice to meet you too.
You know,
always happy to see your smiling face.
Absolutely. I'm very excited and thrilled to have you here today.
It's my pleasure.
Talking about the commercial real estate. So I know the regular jo apna real estate market, it's like crazy right now. How is the commercial real estate?
So commercial market, certain segments are crazy also. Warehouse. It used to be 10, 15 years ago, nobody wanted a warehouse. Amazon ke aane ke baad, warehouse is such a category that you cannot find a warehouse. So we have so many clients looking for smaller warehouse, bigger warehouse. It's just not there. Chahe buy karna hai, chahe lease karna hai. They come and they go at such a high rate. Retail was a risk at some point when the pandemic started. A lot of us thought retail will die, but retail is coming back also. The segment that is not working is office at this point.
That's right.
Because people are not going to the offices anymore. So office was already suffering before. But now with people not returning to the office, people working from home, office demand has become a lot lesser. However, the prediction is it will change. People don't want to sit at home anymore too long.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to go back to work. So I'm sure it's going to go up.
Exactly.
Again.
So that demand will go up with time. So that patience is needed. But every investment is a good investment. Every commercial investment is a good investment if you take care of income and expense. So if the return makes sense, see, in commercial there is no emotion. Either you need the property for yourself or for your use, or then there is no return, then there is you because you need it. Or you're buying it as an investment and renting it out to somebody.
But should people invest right now in commercial real estate?
And the answer is anytime. Every market is good market if the property makes sense. See, investments, no matter when you do it in real estate, are always good if they make sense. If you buy it emotionally, then it doesn't make sense. The numbers have to make sense. Are your expenses more than income? Is income more than expense? Obviously, if you don't have higher income than expenses, then it's a useless property. So you look at the current income and you look at the potential of the property value going up. So potential is what can you do with it? Is it a property that is built on only 1 acre but has 6 acres of property with it? Which means you can expand on 6 acres.
Right.
So you're buying the current and you're buying the future. Or it could be that the use of the property is X, but if you use it as Y, the value would go up 10 times.
Wow.
So that changes everything.
But does a real estate investor and a commercial investor, are they the same? Like you need to have a lot more money as a commercial investor, right, to invest because they're significantly much more expensive.
Right. So residential and commercial is the same thing. Investment is an investment.
But is the process same? Like when somebody is trying to buy the regular real estate, they want to buy a house, and somebody else wants to go into commercial, like buy an office or something. Is the process same?
So few different things in there. First, let's make sure we talk about residential clearly. Residential, most of the time you're buying a home to live in. That's not an investment property.
Right.
Now we call it, this is my investment, and yes, it will go in time and value and all. And Alka has been very good in talking about it. Both of you have been discussing this for a long time. So when you're buying for yourself, you're doing an emotional purchase.
Right.
You are making, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. You are buying because you emotionally are attached to that home. You know you're going to live in it for 10, 15 years. Your family is going to grow in it. When you buy a home itself for investment, you're not going to live in it. You don't care about any of that. Only thing you want to know is, will my rent cover my mortgage?
Absolutely.
And will this property appreciate most likely? Now, in last 2 years, this market has been so crazy. I mean, there are certain areas where the market has actually gone up 40 to 50% in 2 years. 40 to 50% in 2 years.
Wow.
So if they're going to live in the home for 15 years, it's okay. If they're going to live in the home for 2, 3 years, this may be the wrong time to buy a home. God forbid the market changes. When it changes, it continues to go down for a few years. So they need to have time for the market to recover. So that aside, Alka has talked about that many times. What we are talking about then is you buy a home for investment, a rental property. So are you getting enough rent to cover your mortgage? Now you may be buying cash, so that's okay. To cover your insurance, to cover your taxes, all that stuff has to be covered. Plus the repairs that come every now and then, plus the vacancy. So all those factors have to come in. There is zero emotion in it. It's all logic. Do my numbers make sense? Exactly same way we go to commercial. Commercial, again, it could be your own use, but it doesn't have emotional value to it. It's just that it's your own use.
Right.
But normally people who buy investments in commercial don't care about how it looks and feels inside, because that's the tenant's responsibility. But how much money am I getting in return for it? What is my cost? What is my return on it?
So my question is, let's say if somebody has just starting out in an investment game, right? They say, okay, you know what? We have $60,000 to invest, $80,000. In a commercial investment, you need a lot more money to invest because the price is much higher, right? So that's where it's coming from to say, okay, should your first investment be a commercial investment, or should it be a residential rental investment? And then as you become savvy, you go into a commercial investment.
Right. So that's a good question. The thing is, how much money do you have to invest?
Right.
So the difference between residential and commercial is obviously the price. Residential is most likely going to be cheaper. Commercial is most likely going to be higher. The reason we say most likely is because there is no formula for anything. It could be residential, you could be buying in New York City and it could be a $3 million apartment. Or a condominium.
Yep.
And you could buy in New Jersey a $1.2 million commercial property. So which one is cheaper? The thing is, it depends upon where the listener is listening to. But wherever the price is, wherever the value of that property is where you're buying, you have to decide how much down payment do I have. In commercial, in investment properties, banks will normally look for about 25% down.
Okay.
So 25% down, if you're buying $1 million property, you're looking at $250,000. If you're buying a $10 million property, you're looking at a $2.5 million. It's simple as that. So investments, whether commercial or residential, in the mindset, they should be treated just one way. Am I getting the return on my money?
Sure.
And what is my money making right now? So let's say we have $500,000 in the bank right now. And it is earning us 0.5% interest rate. And you can buy a property that gives you a return of 4%. Is that a good investment? And the answer is yes, because you have 8 times more return on your money than you were getting before. However, the market goes up, the interest rate goes up, and now the interest rate in the bank is 5%, the way the interest rate is going up. Now you bought a property that is giving you 4% return. That may not make sense at that point. So in 2 years ago, the environment of 0.5% interest rate, 4% cap made all the sense. And we'll talk about cap rates in a minute.
Absolutely, because definitely I want to talk about cap because I have heard this word a lot and I want to know what is cap rate and is that a good measure?
Yeah. So capitalization rate is net income over the price that you paid.
Okay.
So let's say your net income is 100,000. Net income means income after all your expenses, except the mortgage. Mortgage is separate, but income, all expenses, and then what you paid. So let's say 100,000 is the income on that property, net income, and the price of that is $1 million. That gives a cap rate of 10%. Nothing in the market is there at all. Just remember one thing: more crime-ridden the area, higher the cap rate.
Yes.
More demand of the area, lower the cap rate. More demand of a kind of property, lower the cap rate.
That's right.
So let's say you were buying a Starbucks today, and Starbucks has a lease of 25 years on the property. The cap rate today is going to be around 4%, 4.5%. In some cases, as low as 3.75%. So let's say we go back to the same example. Your net income is 100,000. Your purchase price is $2 million. Your cap rate is 5%, 5 at that point, right? So that's how you figure out the cap rate. But is cap rate a good measure? A lot of people will say, I want X cap rate. Don't rely on X cap rate only.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why you don't rely on cap rate only. Cap rate is net income over what you paid for the property. However, what if the roof needs $50,000 to fix? What if the air conditioning heating system needs $50,000 to fix? What if the driveway paving needs another $100,000 to fix? That's another $200,000 expense that you need. So by the time you put that $200,000 expense, your property value wasn't million. Now it became 1.2 million.
Yep.
So you thought your cap rate was 10% or 5%, whatever the price was, but your numbers have changed. So cap rate is a good indicator, but cap rate should not be the only indicator. Cap rate is saying, okay, I got my base, but now what is the condition of the property?
Right. The whole picture has to be evaluated. You can't just do it with one measure.
Right. And who's paying for that? So let's say it was a Starbucks tenant who in the lease says they will fix everything. They will fix the driveway, they are responsible for heating and air conditioning, roof, everything. Then the cost to the owner is nothing.
Exactly.
So then that's why the cap rate lower is acceptable, because the owner or the buyer or the investor is not putting that money out from the pocket.
Yeah.
So does that answer the question? The cap rate one?
Absolutely, it
Yeah.
did answer my question, because I have been hearing this word, cap, for a long time. And I have to say this, pehle when I heard this cap, and I first thought ये शायद वो टोपी की बात हो रही है.
टोपी ही है एक तरह से. अगर आपको गलत टोपी पहन ली तो आपका नुकसान ही नुकसान है.
That's right.
But the bottom line again is, don't be stuck to that number. Look at the whole picture. And we say that in any investment. If the investment makes sense, don't worry about higher cap rate. If the investment doesn't make sense, high cap rate is going to be useless. You are better off with a little lower cap rate, but a property that is in the right area, where there is less crime, where there is more traffic for the visibility, where there is less repairs issues involved. So what is the cap rate, general cap rate today in the market? A single tenant national cap rate, the rates that we are seeing are 3.75, 4, 4.5. Rarely do we see 5 in single tenant national tenants, where they have guaranteed the lease as a corporation. Then we have sub-national tenants. They are national tenants, but a franchisee owns that place or is responsible for the lease. There we'll see 6% and 5.5% and 6.5 cap. However, there's a risk if the tenant leaves, the property is yours. Now you have to chase the tenant. See, if Starbucks is your tenant, you never have to worry about it. McDonald's is your tenant, you never have to worry about it if they have corporate sign.
Right.
But if it's a franchisee who has signed it, what if franchisee goes bankrupt? Now what do you do about it?
That's right.
So you're stuck with it. So then there are stores where are mom and pop tenants. The tenants are there, but they may retire. They are older tenants. They are younger tenants who may go bankrupt. Either way, any kind of tenant where there is not much lease, longer lease.
Right.
That's when the cap rate could be 6.5, 7. But those come with risk. Those come with longer risk of vacancy. So higher the risk, higher the cap rate.
Right.
Lower the risk, lower the cap rate. So always remember, there's no free lunch. If you're paying for something more, you're paying because you're taking less risk. If you're paying something less, you're taking bigger risk.
Absolutely.
So you can go to areas where even in the daytime, you're afraid that gunshots may be going on. Those areas you will get 10, 12, 15% cap rate.
Absolutely.
But is it something that you want?
Yeah. You
That's
have to look at the big picture. You have to look at the whole picture. And that's why it's important to talk to a proper professional that is looking at everything for you, because you just can't look at one number and say, I'm going to buy the property.
So is there something like a minimum down you have to pay for a commercial kind of a property?
Yes, so typically 25% is what the banks look for. When the lending gets tough, some lenders want 30% down. Lenders also look at two things. They look at the borrower's capability and the property's capability. So here's what they're looking for. Is the national tenant there? Let's say Starbucks was the tenant and the lease was coming. They're focusing more on the tenant than they're focusing on the borrower.
Wow.
Because they know the money is guaranteed. The rent will come and the bank will get paid. So that's easy part. But let's say the tenants were mom and pop tenants. What if the place becomes vacant? That's what the bank says, hey, I want to look at you as a borrower very carefully. If the property becomes vacant, can you pay my mortgage at that point? Can you make the monthly payments at that point? So 25 to 30% is typical. However, there is one exception. If you're buying a commercial property and you're going to use 51% for yourself, then there is this loan called SBA loan.
Acha.
SBA loan is a small business administration loan. That they will do it for 10%. So SBA guarantees the loan. The bank gives you the money, but SBA guarantees the loan. You can get a loan for 10%, but you have to be 51% occupant. So sometimes people will say, well, you know what, how would they know? I can take it, and you don't want to be in a problem with SBA. That's a government loan, God forbid, or whenever they find out that you're not 51% tenant, it can be or owner, it can be a problem. Now, what if 10 years later, you decided to move on and you would want to rent to someplace? That's the difference.
Yeah.
Intention is what matters. Your intention was to do it, and 3 years later you had to declare bankruptcy. You still have the property, you're paying your SBA loan, you're okay.
Right.
But your intention cannot be wrong. You cannot represent wrong, saying I'm going to be 51% and then you are not. So that's where the problem comes in.
And Sanjeev ji, I want you to give tips, out to our viewers who are, looking for these commercial rentals or properties.
What kind of tips?
In buying, how can they even start before, they are searching for the property? What can they do and stuff like that?
Right. So I think the one good thing about today's environment, internet has everything. Internet has more. Our clients, when they call us, they know more than we do as far as the property availability is concerned. They know that this came on the market. But what they need is a guide. Right. That's what's missing. They need to be very careful who's guiding them. Who is looking at it and saying, hey, don't buy this. This is not right for you. See, most of us say, I will make a commission when they buy. The answer should be, I don't care about my commission if it's not right for them.
Absolutely.
The minute we change that attitude, everything changes. So the only tip we can have is make sure, no matter which professional you work with, wherever you are in this part of the country, wherever this is airing, have complete trust, or have the right person you can trust. If they are misguiding you, there are transactions we run. We have a transaction going on where the commission is $65,000. But we are telling our client, don't move forward if you don't have to a year later, because things are showing up that we don't want them to be going through later on. So we are saying we are going to cross all dots, cross all T's, dot all I's to make sure it is right for them. That is critical. If I have to give any one tip, make sure the agent, the realtor you're dealing with is a realtor you can trust and know that they're working for you. That is critical. I don't know of any better tip than that. because the monies are huge, the commissions are huge, and our greed becomes too much. Sometimes you're like, you know what, if they don't close, what will I do without this money?
Absolutely.
And I can understand that at times. It hurts when you don't have that money. But at the end, it's not about money. It's about them, because they'll come to you on a different deal.
Exactly.
So think about them. You'll get many more transactions in the future. Think about you, and you'll lose them forever.
Wow.
You can get a lot of answers on Google.
Yes.
But you really,
Need somebody
that
to guide you.
nitty-gritty in that transaction,
Absolutely. You need
that
somebody.
guidance becomes critical where you are now. We may not be where you are. You may be in California, we're not there. So just make sure you have the right person. But yes, you can call us anytime, no matter where you are. We'll guide you, even if we are making nothing out of it, which we won't be if you're calling from someplace where we are not representing you. But call us. We are here to help our community. We are here to help anybody who has a question that didn't get answered. Only thing we won't talk about is, oh, if you ask us, my realtor did this, my realtor did that, is that the right thing? We don't want to get into ethics of it. That's what your realtor did is none of our issues. We will guide you the best we can, but we
Absolutely.
won't get into what your realtor, why your realtor, that's
And
somebody
that
you
is
chose.
professionalism.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Any other questions at all? So I think we discussed different types of. We might have missed it, but in commercial you have warehouse, you have retail, you have office. These are the three main categories out there. So the most in demand today is warehouse. The always evergreen is retail, because people have to go and shop.
Bilkul.
And no matter how much you can go on Amazon, people still want to go and touch and feel things. That's why Amazon is now opening retail stores. So they start online, and then they shut all the bookstores, and now they open their own bookstores. So retail is something that it's a touch and feel thing. People want to go and see it and touch it and feel it. Office, obviously everything, people work, and 80% people work in offices. It's become a lot of home office thing, but I think office buildings will survive, but there's a glut of it. So unless you have the right office building at the right place, it may not be the best investment.
But my point is now, even office buildings are trying to do a lot of stuff like COVID prevention kind of stuff. They are trying to add so much to it, the glass things, and all the cubicles will have all that stuff because of COVID. So do you think this commercial market is also going to go way up because of all the,
No, actually, that becomes an added cost as an investor. So, so in many cases, the tenants are spending that money, which is okay. But if there's an exterior thing or whatever where the landlord is stuck with those things, that's an expense. That expense must either be absorbed by the landlord or must be passed on to the tenant. If it's too much expense for the tenant cannot pay anymore. So the tenant leaves.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden you're starting all over again. So the office will survive, but there is office glut. Make sure you're buying an office building. If you're buying it again based on that vacancy, based on that income, and based on that expense on that property. So in commercial, if there was one tip again that you were asking for, in commercial, it's not an emotional purchase.
That's a huge tip.
Right. Only time it becomes emotional, only time is when you're doing it for yourself.
right.
So you're buying something and you feel that this is your passion for something. And this is what you want to grow it into XYZ. That's different.
I would like to thank you, Sanjeev ji, and of course Alka too. And this was really excellent. And I think me, I'm not a real estate person. I came to know a lot, and you really educated. I'm sure a lot of our viewers got educated, and we definitely would like you to come again and have another session with us.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It
this
would
is
be my
nothing.
pleasure. If
yeah.
our viewers have any questions they want to send to
Absolutely.
you, by all means, we'll be happy to address them at some
Absolutely,
point. Or
yeah.
they can call us, the 732-494-2211. We are happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, but I think you
Right.
definitely need to come back because it's a lot to cover in one show. We'll need to bring you back.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much once again, and we'll be back next week, same time, with a different topic related to real estate. And I also want to remind all the viewers to follow us on our Facebook handle at ITV Gold. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for news on community, entertainment, and events in US and India. Once again, I'm Pia Jyoti Khatru, wishing you all well until next time.